you can see the screen that is on the side of me, and if you can see clearly, I'd appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to look at hair porosity. And to do that, we need to know the structure of the hair, as I said before. And let's get into it. So this is a longitudinal section of the hair. So if we were to cut the hair in length, going along the hair, not across, this is what it would look like. Well, this is in animation form, but this is what it would look like. So in the middle, you'll have the medulla. It's a soft, spongy mass. Around the medulla, now remember, your hair is somewhat ovalish, not circular, because this Asian and Caucasian races have more circular hair types than us. Sorry, I have a little cold. And it's more oval. So over the medulla, you have the cortex. Now, the cortex constitutes 70 to 80% of the hair strand. This is where the protein bundles are, and this is what constitutes our strength, the texture of our hair, the shine of our hair, the way our hair behaves to products, etc. So this is where the strength lies. All right, so that's what we have to concentrate on today. And over all that is the cuticle. Now, the cuticle is not just one mass. It is different shingle-like layers, just like scales along a fish or like a snake. They are shingle-like layers that can move, they can open, they can close, like a kind of flapping motion. All right? So that is a section of our hair, what it is made up of. And if we go more in depth, we will see that our hair obviously is connected in a hair follicle to our scalp. And in the scalp, the follicle is connected to a vein structure where all the nutrients from our blood gets into our hair. So that's why it is important. Even in forensics, they use hair strands to determine sometimes what the person's body composition is made of. Because heavy metals and all those things, once it's in your bloodstream, it can go to your hair and affect your hair. All right. So moving along. So this is what your hair strand looks like under a microscope. So you can see the little scale-like structures, which are the cuticles, lying on top of the hair. Now, we have healthy and we have damaged hair, obviously. And when we talk about damaged hair, it could mean that the cuticles have been raised so much and they could have been damaged. There can be areas where the cuticles actually break off from the hair, exposing the cortex of the hair to all sorts of different elements, to heat, to chemicals, even pollution in the air can affect our hair. All right, so once you have damaged cuticles, that is it. Your hair is going to be affected, and you will see the difference in how your hair reacts and how it reacts to different products. Now, as you can see with the healthy hair, where the cuticle lies and lies really nicely on the rest of the hair strand, it's shiny. And why? Because when everything is laid flat, when light bounces, it bounces off of it, and that gives the illusion of shine on your hair. But when your cuticle is damaged and it's all over the place, the light scatters all over and there is no shine to your hair at all. So if that is one telltale sign of if you have damage or if your cuticles are just raised a bit, then you know that that your cuticles might be slightly damaged or a little raised. And you would not see that shine as if it was lying down on the hair strand. All right, now continuing. What is the job of the cuticle, therefore? You might ask. So obviously, it is a protective shield for the most important part of the hair, the cortex. Okay. Like I said, it's shingle-like layers. And in Afro hair, we have maybe 8 to 12 different layers of cuticle. It is a transparent layer, and it covers the protein strand, as I said, and it protects the protein strand from sun exposure, from too much water absorption, and it allows the moisture to remain in the hair strand and allows moisture to come out too. Right? So the cuticle plays a very, very important job, as it is the barrier to the outside world, call it. Okay. Now, the cortex's job, as I said, is a bundle of protein strands, and it is the source of our hair shape, strength, elasticity, and color, etc. Now, what is porosity? Anybody knows what porosity means? Anybody? Anybody can tell me what porosity is? I mean, we all know the term and what it means. So porosity, basically, when we refer to hair, means that it's actually the hair's ability to absorb and retain moisture. Now, why we talk about moisture? Moisture is very, very, very important for our hair, for the strength of our hair, and for the hair to retain length. And that's what all of us want, right? 90% of those voicemails, voice notes, and the messages I get, Jodie, I want someone to grow my hair. Now, if there was this magic in a bottle, I always say hair growth is not in a bottle. If there was this magic formula in the bottle, all of us will be Pocahontases, all right? It's not about the product so much as it is how you utilize the product, whether the product actually works for your hair type, and how you take care of your hair. And that is just one factor. The products that we use are just one factor in hair and length retention. Okay, so we can see from the picture that we have low porosity here. So low porosity here, we're going to start off with low porosity here. And low porosity here actually is here where the cuticles lie really tight and really close to the rest of the hair strand, to the cortex. That means, remember I said the cuticle is the door to the outside world, sort of. So when your cuticles lie really close to your hair strand, then it is very difficult for water and for moisture outside to get under there and get into your hair strand. So basically that's what low porosity is. Your cuticles lie really tightly, so it's more of a challenge for moisture and products to get into your hair. And when it is there, it's more difficult for it to be let out because of those tight cuticles on the hair strand. Now, porosity, we talk about low and high porosity, but it is not just a hard, fast thing. So somebody can just have low porosity here, or somebody can just have high porosity. It's a spectrum. So different people can be on different levels of that spectrum of porosity. And on your hair, on your head, you might have different areas where the porosity is not the same. So for me, the back of my hair is a little lower porosity than the rest of my hair. The middle, I don't even think it has any porosity to even call it high or low. It is just super high porosity in the middle of my hair. So it tends to be a lot more dry, and I have to take care of the middle of my hair a lot more. And also on one strand of hair, you can have different levels of porosity. So for example, the new growth, remember your hair, that's the baby hair with the virgin hair, it's going to be of a much lower porosity than the rest of the hair because it's just starting off. It's not as exposed to the elements as the rest of the hair that has already been there. And then the end of your hair, which is the oldest part of your hair, is going to have a much higher porosity because you might have a little damage, maybe from heat, maybe from the sun, from just manipulation of your hair through hairstyles. So it is going to be of a much higher porosity at the ends. So there's no hard, fast rule of what you have to do. You have to know your hair, you have to know your hair type and what works for you. So after we are done with this workshop, you should have a fair understanding of how to take care of your hair in terms of its porosity. Okay, now there's talk in the natural hair world about testing porosity. Okay, these are maybe just I wouldn't say it's not 100% accurate, and it's maybe just a test to see, but those tests themselves are flawed. So there's one thing, there's a strand test. Now, this is the most popular that you hear about. You hear about the strand test, where you take a strand of your hair, you put it in a glass of water. If it floats, it's low porosity because water doesn't get in. If it sinks to the bottom, then it is considered high porosity. But so many factors can change that. So I do not recommend that people just try to determine their hair porosity by those tests. No. Okay? The most effective way is to get a microscope, and none of us have microscopes. So the most effective way is to see and just document how your hair reacts and how it reacts to products and just the nature of your hair. I think that's the best testament of how your hair is, how it is porous and what you can do to fix it. Okay, so those different tests, you can try it if you want to, but I don't recommend it because you might do the strand test and say your hair is full of oil. You know, oil and water don't mix, it might stay on top, and that is not a true reflection of the porosity of your hair. Okay, so we have to be very careful of the tests that we do to determine our hair type. They are not accurate and I don't recommend it. Okay, so everybody good so far? Give me a is there anything you want me to clarify on what I've said so far? Good, everybody's good? All right, so let us move along. Now, how can you identify? So I said those tests are not really accurate. So you need to know how are you going to recognize and how are you going to identify whether or not your hair is low or high porosity. And we're going to start off with low porosity. How do we recognize it? If you find that when you come to wash your hair and you put your head under the tap or the shower, and it takes a very long time for the hair to actually get moist and full of water and stretch out. If it takes a really long time, like a couple of minutes, then that is somewhat of a telltale sign. That might be an indication of low porosity hair. Number two, you notice that product builds up very easily on your hair. And why is that, may you ask? Now, because we said that in low porosity hair, the cuticle is very flat and it is very difficult for moisture to go in. When you do moisturize your hair and it takes in the moisture and that's all it can take in, and then you put creams and you put butters and everything, it will not go in. So all it's going to do is just sit on your hair. Now, sometimes, so you put on one product and it sits on your hair, it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Fine, boy, that product not working. Then you try something else, but you don't realize that you already have something on your hair. So when you add another product, they are going to mix up and your hair is going to get even drier than before. Because of the cuticle, the fact that it is so flat, whatever it takes in, that's it. And whatever else stays and remains on the shaft of your hair and coats it, and then you find that your hair is very dry, it's very brittle, because what happens when it coats the hair, remember your hair is flexible, and it coats it, it dries, so it gets really stiff and brittle. Okay, so that is one sign that we can use to tell if hair is low porosity or not. Now, single strand knots, because it's so tight, the hair is very springy. And when the hair is very springy, remember our hair sheds daily. That is a normal thing, yes. It is a normal thing when hair actually comes out from the scalp. So shedding is a natural phenomenon and we have to embrace it. People have shed rates that are more than others because of other factors, but shedding is a natural occurrence. So we have to realize that fact. And when your hair sheds, because low porosity hair is so tightly wound and is so springy because of the cuticles being so tight together, when your hair sheds, the hair, instead of coming out naturally, it can spring back in. So you find that you get a lot of tangling and a lot of single strand knots where the hair actually knots itself. So that is another sign. It might not be a good indicator because that can happen to someone with high porosity as well. But it's if with all those other indicators that you can really tell if your hair is low porosity or not. Okay. All right, so let's go on to another sign of how we can recognize if our hair is low porosity or not. If we realize that our hair doesn't react too kindly to heavy butters, that it just sits on our hair and it doesn't really affect our hair as much. If we our hair and then our hair remains very grimy, very greasy, it's because of the extra product buildup that someone with low porosity experiences in comparison to somebody with high porosity. So co-washes are not really recommended for those of low porosity here. Okay, it's very good that it's recommended that you clarify your hair so that the shampoo can strip off all the extra product buildup so the hair can be free to reabsorb moisture again. And remember, we said moisture is very, very important. So if you realize that you have low porosity here, it is a very good practice to clarify your hair with shampoo. Co-washes alone will not work for you. Okay. Now, this one is a very good indicator. Number 6. If you find that for some of y'all who have had relaxed hair and realize that your hair takes forever when you apply a relaxer for it to actually straighten out, that is a very good indicator that you are low porosity, because the chemicals take time to ply open the cuticle and to get to work to break those hydrogen bonds to straighten your hair. So that is another indicator of low porosity here. Okay. Now that we have a few things that we can use to identify whether our hair is low porosity or not, what should we do if we have low porosity hair in order to keep our hair supple, to keep it soft, to keep it absorbing the moisture that it needs, to retain the moisture that it needs? What do we do? Okay. So first of all, we have to focus on the ends of our hair because, as I said, you have a lot of shedding. You have to be careful that the shedded hair doesn't mat up with the ends of your hair. And so you need to finger detangle. Or, well, for me, I don't use any combs, so I finger detangle. So you need to ensure that your ends are always free from snags, free from shedded hair. And the best way to do that, I always recommend that, is to stretch your hair. Stretched hair is so much better and so much easier to manipulate, and it prevents your hair from tangling. It prevents your hair from knotting up. It prevents those shedded hairs from tangling with the hair on your head. And so in the process of stretching your hair, you tangle while you're stretching the hair, and that tends to get rid of some of the shedded hair as well. So I always recommend stretching your hair. And people with low porosity hair, you might find that to stretch your hair and keep it stretched, it might take a little more, it might be a little more of a challenge than someone of high porosity hair. People with high porosity hair can be able to stretch the hair, put them in bantu knots, and when they undo it, it's nice and stretched out. People with low porosity hair, however, need to use heat to do that. And so I always recommend for low porosity hair that you use heat, because the cuticles are so tight, and you might use conditioner, you put it on your head and there's no reaction, there's no change in your hair texture. Therefore, you will need to incorporate heat. Now, when I talk about heat, I'm not talking about direct heat. So there's what we call direct heat, when you actually use a flat iron or sometimes even a blow dryer. If it's too close to your hair, that's direct heat. I'm talking about indirect heat, when you might heat up your conditioner. Some people tend to heat up the conditioner separately, or apply the conditioner or deep conditioner to your hair itself after washing, after clarifying, putting on a steam cap. So I recommend getting a hooded cap. I've never seen in Dominica. I think I got mine in Barbados. The only downside, I have to use a transformer, but it's very effective in steaming my hair. And Or if you cannot afford, or if you don't really want to get the hooded dryer, there's always the dryers that you sit under. If you have one, if it's available to you, you could use that. Or just a plain or plastic cap. Sometimes I use a plastic bag when I can't find my plastic caps. So you can use a plastic bag, anything that will trap in the moisture and the heat. So usually what I do, if I do a deep condition and I don't really have that time to sit under a dryer one place, I will just put on a plastic cap and I will go around my daily routine. Even the normal heat from your body will heat up the cuticles enough to let it open up a bit and allow all that goodness to come in. All right, but you can, low porosity here, you should heat it up a little more. And um, so always do that because you have low porosity. I will always advocate for using heat. It doesn't have to be a lot, but as I said, you can just on a Saturday, your wash day, you put on your plastic cap, and for 2 hours, you put in a deep condition, and for 2 hours, just leave it. It will make a world of a difference. Or if you sit on the hooded cap, maybe 30 minutes to an hour might work for you. So you need to experiment with it and see what time works for you and how it affects your hair. So you can actually do that experiment. If you have low porosity hair, just use conditioner normal as is, or use a deep conditioner with heat, and you will see the difference. All right, good. Now we talk about a lot about moisture, right? But I have to include and I have to say here that too much moisture is not really a good thing. So we have what we so there always has to have a balance in whatever we do to our hair. So you can have protein overload, you can have moisture overload. A lot of moisture is not good for your hair. I remember a time I was a bit lazy and I put in deep conditioner. I slept with it in my hair, and the next day my hair was like it was really elasticy. So what happens when you have moisture overload is that your hair tends to be really stretchy, and that is not so good. You need to have that structure. So it kind of breaks down that structure, the structure. So when you realize that, you need to do a protein treatment. Now, those with low porosity hair and protein, some of them actually say they're protein sensitive, but it's not that. It's that your hair doesn't need as much protein as someone with high porosity does. And so some have that myth that coconut oil does not have protein. Let me say it for the people in the back. Coconut oil does not have protein. Coconut itself has protein, but coconut oil does not have protein. Okay. Now, coconut oil is good for your hair because it is very high in fatty acids, so it adds to the structure of your hair. And it contains, I think, over 60% lauric acid, which actually adds to the strength of hair. So that's why it is very good. So for those with low porosity, it doesn't mean that you don't have to use coconut oil at all, but just use it sparingly. Don't use as much, and just see how it acts and how it reacts. So I would recommend that those with low porosity hair like do a pre-poo with the coconut oil so then they can rinse it off so that it doesn't stay on your hair. So the pre-poo now, you do pre-poo with heat obviously. So you pass on the coconut oil and then you do a little heat treatment before you shampoo. So at least you'll get a little bit of that coconut oil within the hair strands. Okay. So Susie says that there are steam caps that you can heat up in the microwave. Okay, I didn't know about that, so thank you. I must look into it. So yes, so you can try and look into those as well. Yeah, so some people love coconut oil and what it does for the hair, some don't. And most of them that don't and ask me questions about the coconut oil, I tell them maybe it's because you leave it on the hair. But if you use it as a pre-poo, you would find that it does wonders for your hair. Okay? Yes. So Ruby says, I always thought my hair doesn't like coconut, but you try it as a pre-poo and you will see. Or just use it very sparingly. Or you can mix it. Some people say that it works better and they find it works better when they mix it with other oils. So you can try that as well. Okay, so let us move on. Do not overwater your hair. As I said, you have moisture overload. You don't want too stretchy without that structure. And people with low porosity can get away with a little bit more than those with high porosity. I mean, high porosity, it's your hair is more prone to breakage. That's me. Your hair strands might be a little thinner than those of low porosity, and you just need to take care of your hair more when you have high porosity. Um, so those with low porosity, let me add that they can get away with stuff. They can use heat. They can do protective styles. Now, protective styling, I don't really like the word, because you might think that you're actually protecting your hair, but then you put on that style if it's braids or weaves, and then you don't moisturize your hair at all. And you leave it in for 3 months without any moisture getting in. Some of y'all don't even wash your hair under the weaves. Okay, somebody making noise outside. Let me close the window. All right. All right. So some of y'all don't wash your hair under the weaves. And then after you take out the weave, you think, oh, you're going to have this long hair because your hair has been growing on the weave. But lo and behold, as soon as you take off that weave and you wash it, clump of hair in your hand. Why? Because the hair has broken. You have added no protein to your hair, no moisture to your hair. So what do you expect to happen? Okay. Castor oil. Castor oil is a very heavy oil, and because of its very high molecular weight, it doesn't penetrate the hair as much. So it is not really a conditioning oil, but it's best used as a sealing oil to seal in the moisture after you have moisturized your hair, to coat the cuticles so that it can retain moisture. Okay, so that's castor oil is really good at doing that because it's a very heavy oil. I don't really recommend passing castor oil in your hair for that same reason. In your scalp, I mean, sorry, for that same reason, because it is so heavy and you might get a little product buildup from it. Okay. Okay, so we talked about our coconut oil, we talked about clarifying, we talked about moisture. So we're almost done with low porosity. And I hope you all understand and have a little insight on what low porosity here is about now, okay? Um, so what we need to also look at is like finger detangling. A lot of people have asked me, why do you finger detangle? Because my hair is high porosity, I find that combing really breaks my hair. Even if I use a very wide tooth comb, I can't deal with it, and my hair really tangles. So finger detangling is it for me. I am stuck. That is where I'm staying. I might use a comb if I need to pat my hair if I'm doing some different hairstyle, but all you know, I like my updos. It's not often that I pat my hair. I might use my son's comb to pat my hair, but it's not often. So finger detangling really works for me. It's very low in manipulation. Combing itself can really break the hair. As I explained in the last live, the combs, because of the mold that they use, there's always this ridge on the insides of the teeth, and you can test that for yourself. Just take your comb, take any comb that you own, and pass your hand along the teeth, and you will feel that ridge. After a while, the ridges get really damaged and they can snag and tear your hair. Okay? Kamli says she wets her hair every day. Kamli, you have good hair. Let me not say good. But Kamli, you might have maybe low porosity here. So you can get away you can get away with that. All right. So yeah. So yeah. So castor oil and low porosity is a no-no. So I said heavy oils and heavy butters are not good for low porosity because it just sits on your hair. It just sits on your hair, causes product buildup. It gets hard, gets crusty, and your hair just lifeless. Okay, so yes, Lucian. Okay, so we've gone through everything for low porosity here. Now, if you find coconut oil doesn't do what they claim it does for your hair, eat it. Simple like that. All Dominicans like Nana. Nobody can tell me there's one person on that life who doesn't like coconut water or does like coconut Nana. And if you don't even message there. I don't want to know. All right, you can ingest it because obviously, as I said at the beginning of the live, whatever you ingest and take in, it goes to your bloodstream, and all those good nutrients and trace elements feed your follicle, your hair follicle. So it's food for your follicle. Whatever you eat goes into your hair. Okay, so if it doesn't work for you on your hair, eat it. You can even drink coconut oil, just take a teaspoon or tablespoon every morning. That's fine. So you can get the benefits of it there. Okay, right. Now for those with low porosity, remember I said that like protein treatments and not so much your friend, but sometimes you do need a little protein treatment when you find that your hair might get a little bit too elastic, and you maybe need to put that structure back in your hair. You can do a protein treatment, but ensure that the protein you have and whatever products that you use to do your protein treatment has hydrolyzed protein. And what that is protein that is soluble in water. So whenever the hair absorbs water, it absorbs the protein with it, and that works better for low porosity hair types. Okay, so ensure that it is hydrolyzed protein, those with low porosity hair. So I think I've touched on everything for low porosity. I hope you all understand what it is about. Um, and with all hair types, I recommend that you keep your hair stretched, moisturized and stretched. You will see the difference in your retention of your hair. All right. Now, we know that when we wet our hair, right? We'll get into that, let me see if I have this on the screen here. Just bear with me. We will get into the pH and how products and the different pH levels work for hair. We'll get into that just now. All right. So we're still going into what do we do when we have low porosity hair. Now, remember I said at the ends of our hair might, even if naturally our hair is low porosity, we might have ends that are high in porosity because obviously they have been through a lot. They've been through life. And they might, maybe the cuticles are a little damaged, it might be lifted up, maybe heat maybe have affected them. So yeah, so your ends of your hair might need a little more TLC because it's the oldest part. And obviously for us to retain our hair length, we have to take care of our ends. If our growth rate of our hair is the same rate as the breakage of our hair, you're not going to see any growth. So some people say, boy, my hair doesn't grow. Jodie, what to do? My hair not growing. Your hair is growing. Just that your hair, ends of your hair are breaking off at the same rate that your hair is growing. So if you notice, sometimes when you do put those protective styles and there's not so much manipulation, your hair seems a little longer. Your hair is growing, okay? Don't think differently. Your hair is growing. And hopefully I want to have a guest on the show, a very good friend of mine for the next live that had very stunted hair. And then when she really started to search and know what products work for her hair, I mean, if you see the difference, it's like night and day. You'll be so surprised. Okay, so Natalie asks, describe what you mean by stretching the hair and how to do it. Okay, so stretching the hair means if you were to just wash your hair and your hair would be saturated with water, you'd see it spring up. Okay. When you stretch your hair, for low porosity, since we're talking about low porosity now, and I will describe stretching hair for high porosity later on. For low porosity, I recommend that you stretch your hair with a little bit of oil. So after washing, let your hair dry to about 70% and then apply your oil. So by stretching, I wish I had a little piece all to show you. You finger the tangle. You can stretch using the tension method. Because you have low porosity, you could use a little bit of heat, low heat, hold your hair, stretch it out using tension method, and just go down to the ends of the hair with a low, not too high, but just a little bit of heat, medium heat along the hair strand, and stretch it out. To keep it stretched out, you can maybe just, after you do that, just put in like maybe 5 or 6 bantu knots, depending on the size of the hair. They have to be like 7, because so yes, so you can just do bantu knots after. So low porosity people can get away with using a little heat on the hair, and you can use the tension method. There are different ways of stretching. There are methods of stretching. There's the African threading. Some people use a silk cloth and just twist it around the hair so that it stays stretched. You can plait your hair so that it stays stretched. I know my mom used to do, what you call it, Butcher? Like just pin rolls, twist it and then just pin it. So that would stretch out your hair a bit. Okay. Yeah. Okay, someone asks, what shampoo and conditioner is best for natural hair? No, that all depends. There's no hard, fast rule. That's what I said. You have to know what works well for you. And for low porosity, since we're dealing with low porosity, about shampoos for low porosity. For low porosity, you have to ensure that your shampoo is clarifying. As I said, there can be a lot of buildup on your hair depending on the number of products you use and the fact that they don't absorb as much of the product as other hair types. So you really need a clarifying shampoo and a moisturizing shampoo to really get rid of that product buildup so that you can re-moisturize your hair. Okay. So we're going into high porosity in a while, but I just wanted you all to, oh my Jesus, why is this in caps? I just wanted you all to head to my YouTube page, because that's where I'll be having the live next time. So you all can subscribe there. And yeah, so you all, what am I doing? Yeah, you all can subscribe it. Now, another thing, when you're washing low porosity hair, it's always good to use warm water. Don't just use cold water. So if you don't have warm water, try and bathe like 1 o'clock or wash your hair like 1 o'clock. And the water in the taps are a little warmer, but please do wash your hair in warm water so that it will help get rid of the product buildup for one, and help the cuticles to lift up a bit so that you can get that good stuff from the moisturizer. Okay, so when you condition your hair, use warm water, and you can rinse off with a little warm water so that the conditioner can really get into your hair. Okay. Okay, somebody asked, how do you deal with itchy scalp? That's another topic. So I will get into that on another live. And like I said, I would be putting a poll on my page, on JD's Naturals page. So I will actually put a poll, or you can maybe just suggest what topics you want me to cover. All right. So yes. So I am just putting in the YouTube page because I'm going to do the live for the next time. So you can just go there, go to JD's Naturals and subscribe there. All right. So someone says, I condition my hair with a product called shea butter and peppermint mix with coconut oil. It works wonders. Yes. So the shea butter, it doesn't really work. Okay, it would work for low porosity hair, but really lightly. Like I wouldn't recommend you putting a whole set of shea butter. Me, for high porosity hair, I have to just lather on heavy butters so that my cuticles can remain sealed and the moisture can stay in my hair. Somebody asked, can I find your products in St. Lucia? Yes, actually you can. They're at the Healing Foods or Healing Hands store in Bois d'Orange, S&S store, so you could find it there. Okay. Charlene, we are going to go actually into the LOC and LCO method and which one works best for high and low porosity here. Okay, all right. So we're moving along. We're almost halfway there. Okay, so Charlene, to come to your question now. So Charlene asked, do you use the LOC method? Now we're still in low porosity. For low porosity here, remember how that works. Now, I don't recommend either methods. Why? I recommend only two of them. So be it liquid oil or liquid and cream. And why? Because it's for the same reason why we don't put heavy butters on here if it is low porosity. When your hair absorbs that liquid in the liquid phase, so the first phase of the both methods is liquid. You moisturize your hair, you add that liquid in. It could be a leave-in, but it's supposed to be a water-based. It has to be water. That's how you get moisture, from water. Don't tell anybody you moisturize your hair with oil. It's a back of essence. You cannot moisturize your hair with oil. All right, water. So that's the first stage. Remember that it's very difficult for it to get in that. So whatever water it takes in, maybe the hair is already saturated with that water. If you have to go and add oil and cream, one of them will stay behind, I assure you. So it is preferable for low porosity here that you use either liquid oil or liquid cream. If you use liquid cream, depending on what type of cream it is, remember the cream usually has some water in it. So it can absorb some of that water content from the cream, and the rest of the cream with the emollients and everything would lay on your hair. You have to add oil to that. It's just going to be added product that is going to interact and crust and get your hair dry. So for me, for low porosity here, I recommend either LO, liquid oil, or liquid cream, LC method. All right, great. All right, so where are we now? So we're going to deal with, yes, the oil has to seal the moisture. Very good, yes. Yeah. Okay, now there are different combinations there, but for low porosity, you can't use a lot of products. It's a given, you cannot. Your hair doesn't absorb as much product as you need it to, and it is just best to use liquid and oil, liquid and cream. All right. Now we delve into the hair porosity spectrum. There are different people, and everybody here is different, and any one of us can be on anywhere along that spectrum. Okay, so it's not a hard fast rule that you are low, you are high. You can be somewhere around that. And usually hairdressers have a grade to porosity. It can be from grade 1, which is low, and grade 5 to high. So they can grade your hair based on that. Okay, so we're on to high porosity here, which is my hair type. And high porosity here, I love talking about high porosity here because that's what I'm really good at, because that's my hair. All right. Oh, before we move on to the high porosity, are there any questions? Do you have any questions that you like to ask about low porosity hair? Any questions? Any questions? Liquid cream? Yes. So Kellyanne, you ask liquid cream. Yes. So you can use like a water-based leave-in, or just plain water, and then you add a cream on there for low porosity. Okay. Any more questions on low porosity? I mean, you will always have a chance after the live to ask me, but if you have any questions now, you can go ahead and ask right here, right now. Yes, so Ruby, I guess your hair is low porosity. Ruby says that better with less products. Indeed. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's one way to identify low porosity here, please. Oh, okay, I will share. This live would be available when we're done, so you could just go back and have a look at it. Who's that? Sheila. Sheila said she missed the beginning, so you can go ahead and look at the live afterwards. All right. It's nice to know. Fernanda said it's nice to know I have the potential to retain my length to senior high porosity. Yes, because And I'm a testament to that because before my natural hair, before I perm, so when I was going to high school, it wasn't that long. It wasn't. And obviously, I didn't know what to do to take care of my hair. I mean, we had no information about how to properly take care of our hair back in the days. And if I had known that, I would never put my hair at all. So, yes, so right now I know what to do and I have identified the type of hair that I have and I know what to do to retain length. I mean, there's much more I can do. I just don't have the time. But I think I'm going to be a little more invested in my hair 2020. So we'll see how that works. All right. So is a whipped shea butter considered a cream? It is not a cream. Creams have, so there's a difference between creams and butters. Butters have no water whatsoever. So butters are really good for sealing, whereas the cream is more of a moisturizing product because there is water in there. So the other components of the cream might be hair emollients and humectants, which are really good at actually, when the humectants are on the hair, what they do is that they attract moisture from the hair onto the hair strand. So it promotes added moisture to your hair. All right. Can the liquid in the, yes, for sure, Candice. Candice, in the LCOLO method, we just, water is the best moisturizer, and yes, it can be. And if you find, well, some people use leave-ins. It's the best moisturizer because on the oil and the cream that can be sufficient for your hair. For low porosity, if you use like a leave-in and then you use a cream, it might be a little bit too much. It might be too product heavy for the low porosity hair. Okay. Did you mention? Oh Lord, you're all writing so fast. Did you mention anything about the different types of oil, meaning the sealants? Yes. So like I said, they are, so for low porosity, because I want to stick to the low porosity, the best oil to use is like very, very light oils, thin oils, like argan, jojoba, almond, sweet almond oil. These oils are best to use so that you have that breathable barrier, even if you use those type of oils. All right. Now the sealing oils will be the heavier oils like coconut oil, um, castor oil for sure, olive oil that actually sit on the hair and are best used as sealants. Okay. Okay. All right. So let us continue. I think we have stayed on low porosity long enough. So high porosity hair, which is on the other side of the spectrum. Now, how do you recognize high porosity hair? First of all, it dries quickly. Let me tell you about my hair. I'd go in the sea, my hair would be wet, and in a couple, no liar, not even half an hour, and my hair would be dry, dry like water, never touched it. That is the number one sign that you have high porosity hair. Let me tell you guys, number one sign. Because what happens, like I said, with the cuticles, let's go back to the picture with the cuticles, the high porosity here, the cuticles are really, they're not really laying down flat. They're easily pliable. And so, yes, it's very good to moisturize. Your hair would like, just like super, what them just call it, super, inside joke. But it will just suck up all the moisture and the good stuff, yes? But the downside to that is that it will just be as easily released because the cuticles are not holding it in because they are a little flat. So, I mean, what can you do? It absorbs moisture easily and it lets go of the moisture as easily. So that's the number one sign of, oops. Oh, okay. Of high porosity here. Right. Okay. No, it tangles really quickly. And why is that? Because the cuticles are raised, then you have more interaction with other hair strands and they tend to So you find that you have to be pulling apart hair strands. You can't comb it, like if you take a comb from the roots of your hair to the ends, like you can't just do it in one sweep pass. You have to like they all tangle together because the cuticles are raised and so they interact with each other and they rub on each other and they, they tangle up. So that's another sign. Like I said, soaks up water really easily. That's sign number 2. And another sign is that it reacts very, very, very quickly to chemicals. Because the cuticle is raised, there's not much the chemical has to do to get in there. So for me, as soon as relaxer touches my hair, oops, straight. High porosity here. That's a telltale sign of high porosity here. Okay? And as well, our cuticles tend to be a little thinner than those of low porosity hair. Sometimes you might miss some cuticle layers because of that rubbing with other hairs. So we just have to just take care of high porosity hair. It's like a premature baby. You have to really do a lot to keep your hair healthy if it's high porosity. Now, another angle to high porosity is that it can be self-inflicted. Okay, so your virgin hair might be low porosity, but because of all the affair you're doing with your hair, it might end up to be high porosity. So if you have a lot of manipulation, if you use a lot of heat all the time, very, very hot combs and blow dryers, you braid your hair a lot, because remember the braided hair can, and remember, let's go into, okay, you have to go into braids. Okay, let me just explain quickly. So the braid has a flame retardant coated on there, right? And it's very abrasive. So when you braid your hair, I always recommend that you soak in vinegar water to get rid of that retardant. You dry and then braid. Because if you leave it on, and that can cause your scalp to itch as well. So you should do that when you braid your hair. It's recommended, it works. If not, you can just use my spray because it helps to get rid of the itching. I have a friend, I won't call any names, when she has her weaves and her braids, she actually has a bottle of my spray in the office to spray on her and spray on her scalp ever so often. So it's good when you're doing braids and protective styles that not too often, not too tight, and even when you're twisting your own hair, like twisting your own hair strands together, if it's too tight and you have high porosity hair, then they can rub on each other and even affect the cuticles more. All right. So that's why it's recommended when you do protective styles with your own hair, do not leave it in for too long. All right. And if you do plait your hair, don't do it too stiff. Make sure that it has a little wiggle room so that the hair is not too tightly wound around one another. Okay. Okie dokie. Hi, Fonetta. Someone says hi. Someone says your spray is. Oops, I just eat some lipstick. Your spray is the best. I can't do without it. All right. Yeah, knotless braids. Yes, yes, I've seen that. Okay. So yes, like I said, high porosity, you can inflict high porosity on your hair, guys. Please don't like don't have to braid your hair all the time. And if you take care of your hair, you'll notice that when you do braid outs and all these different, like your hair looks nicer than the braids. That's for me personal. That's a personal thing for me. I don't really like braids. But yes, so it can be self-inflicted, and so if that does happen, even if you've had low porosity hair before, you need to always reevaluate how your hair reacts to products. And if your hair stops reacting to products a certain way, then that might be a reason for you to reevaluate what type of hair your hair is based on what you have been doing with it. If you've been doing too much braids or using a lot of heat, and then you'll have to change your regime to suit because your hair is now high porosity. Okay, so not a good thing. So what to do? High porosity, we cannot use a lot of heat. You can use a little, you can steam your hair a little, but don't keep it as long as low porosity. Maybe 10 to 15 minutes tops and not on high heat. Okay. Have a consistent moisturizing schedule because, as I said, because the cuticles are raised, whatever moisture is in there is going to escape if your hair is not sealed properly. Okay, and protein treatments are your friend. You know, Afro G really helped me as a spokesperson. The number of people I've made buy Afro G products. I need some type of commission. What do y'all think? Anyway, and not Fresh Market, no, sorry. Fresh Market and Beauty Wise, yes. Afro-G, I'm going to write it in. They have a protein reconstructor and they have a two-step reconstructor. It's really expensive. It's like 90 something dollars, but it works. Those of you with fibros. Let me tell you, when you see I first used that conditioner, I'm like, oh my God. Like my hair just felt totally like my hair was just, my hair didn't have no protein at all. When I put on that conditioner, let me tell you, I even use a comb because the hair was just so soft. Like my texture, my hair just changed. It felt so nice and so. Afro-G is the best. So they have like a 2-pack, like something in a pack. What do they call it now? I'd get it for where my technical director now. I tell him to stay there, to get stuff for me. Um, it's like $7. It's a pack, but it's a one-time treatment. It's really, really good. No, that is a really good treatment, but don't use it too often. Maybe once every 2 months. But the conditioner you can use every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, depending on how you manipulate and you deal with it for that period. Okay, so protein treatments are your friend. If you can get hydrolyzed protein treatments, whatever conditioner you use, try and look for hydrolyzed protein treatments. Some type of protein in there, wheat protein, oat protein, there are all different types of proteins. Try and incorporate it in your regime if you suspect that you are high porosity. And I just love that shampoo. I just love it. Not the shampoo, sorry, it's a conditioner. I love it. You leave it on for 2 minutes, and trust me, your hair just feels so much different. I'm viewing from Grenada. Where can I find your products? Charlene, we used to have an online store, but because of COVID, I had to close it temporarily. So hopefully it should be back up and we can post to you. If not, we're actually looking, so this is for all my customers, we're actually looking to ship in bulk to the different Caribbean countries so that they can be available in pharmacies or supermarkets so you can just go there. Yes, Lucian, trust me, I love that Afro-G. I love it. I love it. I love it. I don't like that is a $96 that wouldn't even hurt my heart to spend because I know how well it works. Okay. All right. So protein treatments are your friend. Now, so if I can explain, I hope you all can see this a little clearly. Oh, hold on. Okay. Now, sorry, I'm a little cold. Now, this is a picture of damage hair and what protein treatment does for hair. Now, remember, high porosity hair is more prone to breakage. The cuticles are raised, and they themselves are more prone to getting damaged from being cut off, from being snagged. So, high porosity hair, this is an indication that maybe you might have damaged cuticles or you might have sections of missing cuticles because of that reason. Now, so the first image here is of a damaged hair strand. You have a split end and you have a piece of the hair missing. Now, protein treatments, remember, are temporary fixes. So the more that you can care for your hair and keep your hair healthy, that you don't need as much protein treatments, that's the best thing to do. That's what I recommend. But in case you do need protein treatments, then this is how it works. So it's a temporary repair for your hair. Um, so it fills in the different areas that are missing, that are lifted up too high. So it just fills in and just makes the hair Ooh, really nice. All right. Now, as I said, when your hair is damaged too much, you have to eventually just continue doing protein treatments like for the rest of your life, or cut off the ends of your hair. So if your hair is split, myth number one, split hair cannot be repaired. I don't know, we all get that thing. The hair split, it splits. There's no going back. It's like Siamese twins that had an operation, you cut them off, they can't be joined back together. It's like a glass that broke. It fall on the floor, you put glue, but the pieces are still separate. So yeah, that's a good analogy, you know, like a glass that is broken. The glue is there. The pieces are together, yes, but you can rip it out and the pieces will still be apart. So split ends cannot be repaired. And all those products you see, repair split ends. Well, the term repair and fix, okay, so like repair is a good word, but some of them would claim that they're fixing split ends. No, they cannot be fixed. They can be repaired temporarily with protein fillers, but that is about it. So as soon as you see the hair split a little and you can examine your ends to see whether the hair is split or not, cut it out, okay? Cut it out. Or you want to have long hair, but the ends of your hair look like a rat tail. What's the point? You want to have long, healthy hair. So from the time you see your hair starting to split, cut it out. And to prevent that from happening, you have to ensure, like I said, that you take care, but you look like Josephine, that you take care of ends of your hair because they are the oldest parts and they are like a preemie baby, you know. You have to really, really take care of your ends. Add a little more moisture there, add a little more product there so that, you know, it stays healthy. Okie dokie. Now, we're continuing on what to do for hyperporosity here, right? Rinse in cold water. Jodie does not like to bathe cold water. It can be burning hot outside. Have the water on the highest possible. My husband has come and be like, Jodie, like the whole room would be steaming. I do not like cold water, but when I wash my hair, trust and believe that when I'm rinsing out the conditioner, I might even add ice cubes to there. Take a glass and add ice cubes because I know the importance of rinsing my hair with cold water. So what cold water does, now we're going to go in the pH of water and the pH levels affect your hair. Okay. Now your hair normally is pH 4.5 to 5.5. Now we know the pH scale. 7 is neutral, 1 to 7, well, that's the acidic side, and then 7 to 14 is the alkaline side. All right. So now our hair pH is like this, and water is right. So water is here, and your hair is like here. So now when you add water to your hair gets a little more alkaline. And so what happens is that it gets a little looser and the cuticles tend to relax a bit, and so they lie down flat. So after you put the conditioner and all that good stuff in your hair, you rinse with the cold water, then the cuticles relax a bit and ensure that they retain that good stuff in the hair strand. Okay, as well as apple cider vinegar rinses. It's very good because it's acidic, so it closes the cuticles a little more. And then what we have to do is always seal with heavy butters and oils to make sure. So even the weight of the butters and the oil, when I apply my shea butter to my hair, I always do it in like a smoothing motion along the hair strand, along the way that the cuticle lies, so that the weight of the butter can allow the cuticle to form back onto the hair strand and relax a bit as well. Okay. Yes, so let us continue. Right, so this is what I was explaining. Alkaline products opens the cuticle. The human hair is 4.5 to 5.5 in pH, and acid closes it. So the vinegar is acidic, so it closes the cuticle a bit. Okay, righty then. No, okay. Now let's talk about sebum. Sebum is the natural oil that our hair produces, and we tend to overlook it a lot. Some people don't even know what sebum is. It does produce its own oil. God put everything there for us. And because because our hair is so kinky, it's very difficult to get the sebum from your so that's why sometimes the roots of your hair feel so nice compared to the rest of the hair, because that's where the sebum stays. Because our hair is so kinky, it doesn't get to coat the entire hair. And that's why in the Caucasian race and the Asian race, that the oil is spread evenly about. That's why they brush their hair so that the oils can get to the entire length of the hair. But with us, it's a bit more difficult. So I can advise that you can massage your hair while you're massaging, while you're stretching as well. So that's where stretching is also important. That while you're stretching your hair, you can always get the sebum that is coating close to your roots to get it to the ends of your hair. Now there are some you can research on it. I'm not going to go in depth with it, but there are some people who use the water only method, and you can do a little research on it. So they just rely on water to cleanse their hair, warm water to get rid of buildup, etc., water to moisturize their hair, and the sebum from their hair to cleanse, to coat their hair and to seal and protect. That's it. And they have long hair. So there might be some, I don't know, but you can research it. I don't know if I'd ever try that out, but you can research the water only method, and that is their premise: the sebum and water to moisturize and sebum to seal the hair and condition. Okay, somebody said, is ACV a good leave-in? I don't think I would leave vinegar on my hair because it is acidic. I think I just use it to rinse off. Rice water, somebody asked, why is rice water good for the hair? Again, rice water is very high in protein. So I think rice water has like about 16% protein. And so it's really like a protein treatment for your hair. So it strengthens your hair, and hence your hair retains length because it doesn't break as easily. So that's the whole hype with the rice water. I don't on that train yet, no? Because to me my rice is sweet. I was thinking about doing it, but I I will try it out and let you guys know what happens. All right. Okay, so we're moving on. We're almost at the end. Little manipulation, like I said, finger detangling is what works for me. Too much braiding, too much brushing as well. Some people use brushes that are really coarse and hard. That can cause splits. That can actually split and cause your hair to pull out. Don't brush your hair too much. If you need to brush your hair to slick it back, get bristles which are finer and a bit softer. Yeah, brushing can cause havoc, can wreak havoc on your hair. So please get away from all these snaggy headbands, because iron in it, and you always find, when I used to use those headbands before, every time I take it out, there'd be like 5 strands of hair in there every time. So please get like snagless bands. Buy a tights are like $10 by the Chinese. I buy a $10 tights, and I have bands for like 4 years, 3 years, about 3 years. Yes. So I just cut a piece, cut a piece, cut a piece because I lose it all the time. So that is what I use for my hair. Okay, so I show you what I hair. But you have to undo my whole hairstyle for all you. Okay, so this is my hair band. It's very soft and satiny, so it doesn't snag. This is my hairband. This is all I use. A piece of tights. You can go and buy all the expensive thing, but I'll use my $10 Chinese tights. Okay, this is all I use. And dye knots. I'm fixing back my hair really well. Right. Okay. Right, so little manipulation. No heavy extensions. Low porosity hair can get away. Oops. can get away with that, but we can't, us high porosity people. Please, no heavy extensions, and when it's done, make sure that it's not too tight, please, or else you won't see the growth that you want to see. All right, so let me just go through the questions a bit. My issue is that I'm not certain if I am high porosity or low porosity. My head's confused. What can I tell you? You just have to, what to do, try to do the what to do's for low porosity, and then for a period of time. And try to do the what to do's for high porosity and see how they compare. That can maybe give you a fair idea of what it is. Okay. Um, yes, okay. The last one is COVID have that dick. But what happened there, I'll be honest with you. I actually test my products before I put them on the market. I just like to wet all your mouth. But I did make a batch of the hibiscus conditioner. But what I found is I read after a while that it's the hibiscus causes it to be unstable, so it got a little runny. So I just have to get a stabilizer for it. But COVID came, and yeah, so maybe in a month's time, hopefully I can order now. So in a month's time or so, it should be ready. Okay, right. So moving along, right. Um, so for high porosity products that are very have a lot of like that kind of mucus feel to it, you know, like aloe and has that kind of snorty effect, like snot, like a mucusy sort of effect. So hibiscus water does that, and I have a video where I show you. If you go to my YouTube page, subscribe, click the notifications button, you would see one of the videos that I did on aloe and hibiscus and how to use hibiscus for your hair. So those products are really good. So you have products like, I wrote a few down. You have Slippery M, is really good, and I'll be using that in my new products, Marshmallow Root, and looking at doing flaxseed in gel for you guys as well. So these things that have that kind of mucilus um, effect is very good for high porosity hair, sorry. Like I said, extra TLC, low manipulation, make sure you take care of your hair, don't put any tight bands, very tight hairstyles. Looser your hair is, the better. And protect your ends as well, because your hair is already very porous. The ends are going to be even more porous because they are old and, you know, they have lived their life. Okay. Um, How do you stabilize aloe vera gel without refrigeration? You would have to use, so somebody asked, how do you stabilize aloe vera gel without refrigeration? You would have to use some sort of preservative. And in that case, if you do need to use a preservative, I always recommend researching and trying to use something that is natural besides those synthetic preservatives. So there are different preservatives that you can use. There are different essential oils that act as preservatives, but they're not as effective as the others. It won't last as long. But I mean, you can keep it in the fridge. That's a good way to keep it in the fridge. Okra is very good too, yes. So hibiscus, okra, sorrel leaves, they're all of the same family. Yeah. Okay. So yes, so high porosity here. I hope you all understand how to identify it and what to do. So humectants are always recommended for those with high porous hair. And as I explained before, spray has a lot of humectants in it, because obviously I made it for myself first and I'm high porous. So it has a lot of humectants in there. And what humectants does is, besides the normal water that's in the product, in the moisturizing spray, the humectants sit on the hair. And humectants actually absorb moisture from the hair onto the strand. Okay? And that is why when you use my moisturizing spray, you find the hair is very easy to detangle. And even during the day, the hair remains soft. And the shea butter as well. The shea butter has humectants in there as well. So I mean, it's a win-win. You have your humectants in there. The moisturizing spray has some oil in there, so it actually has shea butter in there. You have not castor oil. You have jojoba oil in there as well, and you have the humectants. So it's a win-win. Can't go wrong. Okay, so people, that is the end of the line. Now, questions first, and you know I like to give stuff away. I like to give stuff away. So you'll have a chance to win something or some things. So are there any questions, first of all, that you need to ask about low porosity and high porosity here? Are there any questions, guys? Also, just to say about the rice water, that obviously it's very good to use because of its very high protein content. So for those with high porosity here, it's a win-win. I just haven't tried it as yet. It's too much work. Put rice, put water, ferment rice, smelly rice. Okay, so someone says that my girl used the rice water. Her hair was a bit tough. No, it's silky. Also, the oil's avocado oil. Yeah, I love avocado oil, y'all. Sometimes that's what I do to moisturize. I put in water, like moisten my hair, and I use avocado and a bit of my shea butter. Best thing ever. Any more questions, loves? So Shayla says she wish she could hire somebody to take care of her hair. Don't we all? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time, but it's a part of us, and we have to do what it takes to know how it works and how we can maximize our hair length and just make our hair healthy. Yeah. How do you deal with that? Lucian says her hair won't let her be great. Is it wise to do deep condition high porosity hair once every week? I wouldn't advise you can deep condition, but not with a lot of heat. Yes, you can. Yes, it's advisable. Whatever gets your hair to be conditioned and gets moisture, because remember, high porosity hair just lets everything out. So, yeah, you can. Thank you, Ruby. Ruby says I did a great job. Thank you. Does the porosity have to do with the hair type? Say like 4C hair. That's why I don't, you see that hair type thing? I don't really subscribe to that because finding out what the structure of your hair is much more important in terms of getting the right products for your hair. Hair type is just a kind of a label thing. And it's not hard fast. Like I said, you can have how many different textures on your hair. Some people can range from 3B to 4B on one head. So to me, I don't really subscribe to that hair typing thing. Okay. So Misty says, I've been using the deep cleanse and clarifying you're recommending and it looks very good. I'm glad. How do you treat, so Tracy says, how do you treat hair that has very loose kinks with high porosity? The same way, Trace, the same way. Just do all the steps with the high porosity. Okay. And if the kinks are looser, then it's even a little better because the hair is a bit straightish. So yeah. Tracy Daniel says, asks, what is your view on other homemade protein treatments? No, like I said, there are different proteins. So you have those that are very high molecular weight that can just sit on your hair and coat your hair. That's all very good and well. But if you actually wanted to penetrate deep and work and get to those strands and fill in those missing cuticles, then hydrolyzed protein is the best thing to do. And the proteins from the eggs are a little bit too big to actually do what hydrolyzed protein does. So yes, it can work in a sense. It coats the hair, but to get a really deep protein treatment, you'll have to use a hydrolyzed protein. Okay. Okay. Yes. So I think I if you all need to know anything else, you all can message me, you all can WhatsApp. I'm always there. Yeah. So I just want to do a little quick summary because some might have joined in a bit late. So I just want to do a quick summary of the pros and cons of low and high porosity here. So first of all, high porosity here, the pros are it can be stretched easily. You have much easier penetration. Penetration is not an issue when it comes to adding moisture and adding all that good stuff from conditioners in. But the cons is that the same way it's very easy to absorb, it's very easy to lose everything. So it dries out really quickly, it tangles easily, and it breaks easily because you have those cuticles sometimes missing in areas, and you have your cortex exposed to elements because the cuticle is so raised. Now, low porosity, the pros of that type of hair is that it's shinier. Like I explained, people love shiny. But if my hair dry and it's not shiny, how to make my hair shiny? But if you have high porosity hair, your hair is not going to be as shiny as someone with low porosity hair. And because, like I explained in the beginning, the cuticle is really flat. When the light bounces off, low porosity hair, it looks shinier and more lifeless. So just low porosity here might be a little stronger because of that same fact that the protein element in your hair is not as exposed and doesn't get as damaged as in high porosity hair, and it doesn't dry out as fast. Some people who have low porosity hair, their hair can maybe just like sometimes 2-3 days to really air dry properly. So that can be a really bad thing because you don't want a lot of moisture sitting on your scalp. That can cause fungus and infections. Yeah, so I don't recommend people just leaving in a lot of moisture in their scalp. Okay, the cons of low porosity hair is that it takes longer to dry. Like I said, you have a lot of product buildup if you don't know what you're doing. If you just add product on there like mad, so that can be an issue if somebody doesn't really know their hair type and what products really work and how much product to put on there. So yes, product buildup is really an issue, and to solve that, that's why low porosity people need to clarify their hair really well. You get single strand knots easily, and it takes a lot more effort to stretch your hair. So this live obviously will page, share the live, like AC said, share the live. And I hope this helps. I love just educating people because I've done a lot of research, and what's the point of keeping it to myself? So I just love helping people. My consultations are free. You can call me. Well, call me over the weekend or just send me a voice note so I can get back to you when at a convenient time. And yeah, so I will be actually, I might have 2 other lives after this, and I will be doing more tutorials. I might have some lives, but not as frequent. And I'll be doing more tutorials on my YouTube page. So make sure you go to JD's Naturals on YouTube, subscribe, like the videos, and click the notification button so you can, be alerted as soon as I post those tutorials. Okay. So I'm so glad that you all enjoyed the live. This is like, I don't know, this is a first for me. I always tell him, Chaka, why so nervous? Chaka says, so like to talk. You like to talk, so that should be nothing for you. So I'm very, very appreciative that you all came. I just love sharing information. I love helping people, and the fact that before, so like there's so much information out there that you don't even know what to do, and it's like so overwhelming sometimes. So you have to get down to the basics, and I like to deal with science and facts. So that's why I get down to the root. So I don't just listen to, okay, this product works. People will always market their product to make money. So I really try to get into the root of how our hair works and the types, not really the brand, but the types of product that work for our hair and the different hair types we have. And porosity is just one factor. That is just one factor. You have other things like density, you have texture, you have the thickness of your hair, and all those factors playing with each other. You have to really hone in on what products work for your hair type, and the fact that you have different hair types on that one head of hair. So it's really a matter of researching. They say black people don't like to read. Well, I don't. I love to read and research. And I think all of you should, so that you can know yourself, know your hair. Your hair is part of you. Know how your hair works, know how your hair grows, and you will find that when you really know what products work well with your hair type and really affect your retention of your hair, then you'll be much happier. And don't ask me, Jodie, I want, do you have a product that makes hair grow? I will not answer. Products do not make your hair grow. I made my hair grow. Me that make my hair grow. So don't ask me what products make your hair grow. There's hair growth is not in a bottle. The products can aid and promote healthy hair growth, but they don't. There's no magic potion. All right. Like I said, factors before are all in play. Your diet, your metabolic rate, all these things have a part to play in how your hair grows. Your water intake, your level of fitness. I mean, you have to exercise. Remember, the blood supplies all those nutrients and trace elements to your hair, minerals to your hair. You have to have that blood flowing. You need to exercise. You need to eat properly. Your diet is very important. Your hair needs trace elements like manganese and iron. And you have to eat foods rich in that, or supplements if there's an issue. But you have to do all those things. So I'm just touching on the different subjects, but there's no hard fast rule to what exactly makes our hair grow. It's a combination of all those things. So thank you very much for joining, and I do hope that you join on the next time. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like the page if you're not already on the page, so that you can get notifications. Yeah, so I'm done. You guys have been so lovely. I don't want to leave. But yeah, so if you have any other questions, you can even write on the live after I end the live. I will try and go through and try and answer to the best of my ability those questions that you have. And yes, so yeah, I think I've answered as much questions that I can. Good. Okay, so have a great evening, guys. Have a blessed Sunday tomorrow. Remember